Hare Krishna and good morning, everyone. Let's start with Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Vajrana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vajrana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. We're actually starting a little early, so we'll see. We'll have more time for loving exchanges. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Okay, please repeat after me. Narayanam namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtapreshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. And by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Dear devotees, today we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, verse 23. Esha prapana varadora yamatya shakya Yad yad kadashti krihita guna avataraha Tasmin svavikramamidam shriyato picheto Yunjita karma shamalam shayata vijahyam Esha prapana varado ramayatma shakya Yad yad kirashyati grihita gunavataraha Tasmin svavikramamidam shriyato picheto Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijahyam Please chant.
Esha prapana varado ramayatma shakya Yad yad karishyati grihita gunavataraha Tasmin svavikramamidam shrijato picheto Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijahyam
Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijahyam
Esha prapana varado ramayatma shakya Yad yad karishyati grihita gunavatara Tasmin svavikramamidam shrijato picheto
karma shamalam chayata vijayam.
Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijayam.
Esha kapana varadora mayatma shaktya.
Esha karma varadora mayatma shaktya.
Yad yad karishyati grihita gunavatara. Tasmin savitramamidam shujatopi cheto. Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijayam.
Esha prapana varadora mayatma shaktya. Yad yad karishyati grihita gunavatara. Tasmin savitramamidam shujatopi cheto. Yunjita karma shamalam chayata vijayam.
Anyone else? Thank you. Synonyms. Eshaha, this. Oh, sorry. Eshaha, this. Prapana, one who is surrendered. Varadaha, benefactor. Ramaya, enjoying always with the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Atma Shakya, with his internal potency. Yat Yat, whatever. Karyashiti, he may act. Grihita, accepting. Guna Avataraha, incarnation of the mode of goodness. Tasmin, unto him. Swavikramam, with omnipotency. Idam, this cosmic manifestation. Srijataha, creating. Api, in spite of. Chetaha, heart. Junjita, be engaged. Karma, work. Shamalam, material affection. Sha, also. Jata, as much as. Vijahyam, I can give up. In translation, all by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world, and I pray that I not be materially affected by my works. For thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. Please repeat after me. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world. And I pray that I not be materially affected by my works. For thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. Purport. In the matter of material creation, maintenance, and destruction, there are three incarnations of the material modes of nature. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. But the Lord's incarnation as Vishnu in his eternal potency is the supreme energy for the total activities. Brahma, who is only an assistant in the modes of creation, wanted to remain in his actual position as an instrument of the Lord, instead of becoming puffed up by the false prestige of thinking himself the creator. That is the way of becoming dear to the Supreme Lord and receiving his benediction. Foolish men want to take credit for all creations made by them, but intelligent persons know very well that not a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord. Thus, all the credit for wonderful creations must go to him. By spiritual consciousness, only can one be free from the contamination of material affection and receive the benedictions offered by the Lord. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Shakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Distarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Dear devotees, I humbly ask for the blessings of everyone here and everyone listening online, that I may speak in this class in a way that glorifies God and inspires myself and others to serve Guru and Radha and Krishna. Okay, my dear friends, so today I want to talk about two main points. The first one is gratitude, and the second one is devotional service. And why do I want to speak on gratitude? Well, gratitude comes up in this verse, or better yet, I like to think of this as this continuing heartfelt prayer of Lord Brahma, when he says in the verse, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of surrendered souls. So benefactor was a key word there for me in kind of getting this all started. Because what is a benefactor? So if we go to the Cambridge Dictionary, it gives us a definition: someone who gives money to help an organization, society, or person. That's not very inspiring, is it? It doesn't really feel like it connects to the Lord very much. However, if we unpack it further, if we go all the way back to the Latin roots of the word, the Latin benefacere, to do good to. Well, that's simple, and that's more connected to Krishna, because Krishna is always looking to do good in our lives. He's our ever well-wisher. And Srila Prabhupada actually describes Krishna like this in the purport of Bhagavad Gita 5:25. And I quote, Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. I actually love this term of Krishna as the supreme friend. And I often listen to classes of Achyuta Gopi Devi Dasi Prabhu. She's based out of New York City. And she likes to call Krishna the supreme bestie, which I also love, because it's just such a personal way of kind of having a connection to Krishna. And it really helps the younger people, that's how they talk, to kind of relate to Krishna. It's like, oh, Krishna's my supreme bestie. Great, I can have a relationship with him. So that's just an aside in case anybody else wants to use that term. I think it's very sweet. But otherwise, let's go back to the point of why do we have gratitude? Why do we have gratitude to our supreme friend, Krishna? Well, let's think about it. When someone loves and cares for us so much, isn't it important to acknowledge what they have done for us and thank them? I mean, this is true for relationships and friendships with regular people, let alone Krishna. If I never acknowledge, so my husband, Gopal Das Prabhu, he's the cook in the family. So he cooks all the bhoga that we then offer to our deities. He's the kind of like provider of the prasadam in the house, which I'm very blessed that I have a chef in the house that way. what he did, I doubt that our marriage would last as long as it has, right? So we've been together this year now 15 years, which I know is not a lot compared to a lot of you who have been together for decades, but I just wanted to mention it because I'm so grateful to it. And I'm grateful to Krishna for that blessing. And I'm grateful to Gopal Prabhu for being in my life. And I'm grateful for all the service that he does. And that continues our relationship. And that engenders that, continues and grows that love. So think about it. Like, Krishna is our supreme friend. So he's always supplying us with everything we need. Like the air that we're breathing, like the clothes that we have, everything around us is supplied by Krishna. And he accompanies us everywhere we go. And I'm not talking about like he goes with you to the bathroom in your heart. No, I'm talking about like lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Whether you're a flea, whether you're a tree. Oh, I didn't mean to rhyme there, but yes, he goes with you everywhere. How amazing is that? Do you have any friends that are that loyal? No, nobody's as loyal as Krishna. He loves us no matter what we do. Even if we never say thank you, he loves us. That's amazing. I mean, sometimes we never even acknowledge him, right? We might be in a body where we're not able to acknowledge Krishna. If we're in a dog body or a cat body, we might not have that opportunity. But does he let our friendship go? Does he let our relationship with us go? No. He still loves us. And he's our friend even if we ignore him, let alone thank him. So often we just go about our lives just taking credit for everything good that happens, and we blame Krishna for the bad, right? Oh, Krishna, how dare you take my job away? But then when you get your job back, you're like, wow, I'm so smart. My resume that I put together was really great. Forget about thanking Krishna for the intelligence and the ability to put together the resume. So those are just little examples. However, I wanted to share, I was watching a class by Rukmini Walker Prabhu, God's sister to many of you, who's very inspiring to me. And that class was called Grateful Love. And in it, she was sharing how we all come into this world as debtors, right? We come into this world with absolutely nothing. And we are in debt to Krishna for all that he provides us. He supplies us with everything. And then if you think of it even further, we're in debt to our parents, to our community, to everybody around us, because everybody's interdependent and everybody's helping everyone else. But do we think about that? So I actually found a class by Srila Prabhupada. It was in Montreal in 1968, and he was speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, verses 12 to 13. And I'm just going to read you exactly as he said it, just because it's so inspiring what he said on gratitude. He said, "Therefore, one who is intelligent, his prayer should simply be gratitude. That, my dear Father, you have supplied the necessities of my life so much amply. I must be feeling grateful. So these preparations I have made for you, because it is your goods. You have supplied these grains. So you kindly, first of all, take. Then I will take. So Krishna Prasadam. This is Krishna Prasadam, acknowledgement. He is Father of all living entities, so he is supplying other living entities. They cannot offer any gratitude. The beasts, the birds, they cannot offer any gratitude. But I am a human being. I have got developed consciousness. I must feel grateful for God's mercy and offer my gratitude. That is my duty." Just let that sink in for a second. So are we even conscious of what we're receiving from Krishna? I know that a lot of us are really trying to be Krishna conscious, but I think it's also important to first be just conscious, first be awake to all the divine gifts around us. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know that it can be difficult when we're in pain, when things are going badly. I've personally been in those circumstances. As I've mentioned in class before, just last year I injured my back and I was bedridden for 2 months. You know, years before that I had tons of health problems. I've had surgeries. You know, Gopala Prabhu had to like take on 2 jobs to like take care of us. There were all these circumstances that were making life really difficult. And it took a concerted effort to practice gratitude in those moments and to connect to Krishna. And sometimes I would have to break it down to the simplest things. I'm talking about, oh, I got up from the bed by myself. Wow, thank you, Krishna, that I can get up from the bed by myself. Or, oh, I'm able to take a shower on my own. Thank you, Krishna, for the ability to take a shower on my own. Thank you for this hot water. Thank you for this home that kept me safe while I slept. Thank you, Krishna, for the comfortable bed that I slept in all night. So I think you get the idea. It can be really simple and we can really break it down. Even in those hardest moments, I'm sure we can look around and find something. I actually read a book, there's a book called The Attitude of Gratitude, and I'll quote it later on as well. But in that book, the author shares that her friend likes to use metaphors, just like our Srila Prabhupada did. And she likens gratitude to a flashlight, right? So if you have a flashlight, the room is dark. You're shining your flashlight on things that are already there. It's not like because the flashlight turned on, then things magically, manifested. No, those things were already there, but you were in the dark. And it's gratitude, that flashlight, that can help you see what's already there. And the reason why I mention that is because starting that practice of gratitude or continuing it is something you do, shining that flashlight of gratitude will help soften your heart, because it's easier to open up your heart because you say, wow, at least for me, wow, Krishna is so merciful to me. Like I look around and it makes me think, again, Rukmini Prabhu has another quote that says, gratitude makes space for Krishna's grace. So Krishna's grace is already there in our lives. It's just sometimes we're so busy complaining, and I'm just speaking about myself, okay? We're just so busy complaining, we're so stuck in what is wrong that we miss it. Right? Sometimes when I think about it, it just makes me so sad how many times I've missed the opportunity to connect to Krishna, connect to others, because I'm so busy, stuck in what's going wrong, that I forget to look for that grace, that mercy of Krishna in my life. However, again, so with gratitude, with that flashlight, with that light, we can make space in our minds, but we can also make space in our hearts to see that. And I'll quote somebody else who's very dear to me, Chaitanya Charandas Prabhu, who has given classes here before, and he's very inspiring. And talk about someone who hasn't had the easiest, of lives, right? We know that Chaitanya Charandas Prabhu, he has some medical problems that he deals with, but he speaks on gratitude so beautifully. He actually wrote an article called 4 Levels of Gratitude, and it's based on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 41. And that verse, I'll just repeat it again for those of you who may not remember. It says, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So Krishna himself is reminding us that everything beautiful, everything glorious we experience is just a spark of his splendor. So we can use those things in our life. We can find the beautiful, we can find the glorious to remind us of Krishna. So gratitude, the practice of gratitude is not this new age thing. It's not like just a psychological, like mumbo jumbo. It's actually a practice of remembering Krishna. Right? And Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, he actually reiterated this in his article, and I'll quote him because he said it so beautiful. He said, beautifully, he said, gratitude is not just a positive emotion or appreciative disposition. It is also an effective reminder that goodness still exists in the world, and a persuasive pointer to the goodness of the divine who underlies and unifies existence. And then he further clarifies this point, and this is just a brief part of his article. I highly recommend it, where he says, imagine if a family member or a colleague or even a stranger is kind to us in our moment of weakness, we see God's kindness acting through them. This vision nourishes our devotion and powers us towards the one who alone can provide us enduring safety, meaning, and fulfillment. So again, when we look around and we can see the kindness of Krishna in little things, like someone's kindness to us. Like this morning when everybody could tell I'm super nervous about giving class and people come up to me and give me hugs and, hold my hand. I see Krishna's kindness through that. And then that connects us to our loving relationship with the Lord, because it connects and nourishes our devotion to our dear Lord. I once was in a Srimad Bhagavatam class where a young devotee, Jagannath Gopal Das Prabhu, he said, and I'll try to say this as nicely as he said it, but it's just really, it's very sweet. He said, we can be more present to the presence from and the presence of Krishna. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but let's break it down. So he's saying gratitude can be about being present, so being here and now, and it reminds us to be present. And it reminds us to not be stuck in the past or in the future, and it reminds us to look for the presence, the gifts from Krishna, and the presence, the Krishna in our lives. Like, where is Krishna? He is everywhere. Sometimes we forget, right? We think, oh, material world, Maya, it's all bad. No, like Krishna is everywhere. We just have to have the eyes to see that. So we can be conscious and grateful to the presence and the gifts that Krishna gives us. And with that kind of spirit, and I always like to honor the Vaishnavis, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the support of a lot of Vaishnavis. There's a beautiful book called Bhakti Blossoms, a collection of contemporary Vaishnavi poetry. And in it, I found a poem by Dama Rupini Devi Dasi Prabhu, and she titled it Krishna's Abundant Gifts. So there's a poem. Please open up your ear holes, because sometimes it's hard to hear poems. Okay. Bright, cheery skies herald spring. Caw, caw, caw fills the air as choirs of joyful birds sing. Cherry blossoms permeate the tranquil atmosphere, gently showering the soft earth. Whilst the ants and busy bugs enjoy traversing the dirt, the earthy scent fills my being. In a mood of surrender, I am in bliss by the delights that I am seeing. Dear Krishna, I see you everywhere. My heart is filled with gratitude, and I'm deeply touched by your care. You are so magnanimous. You've given many beautiful treasures, and in return, I pray as your servant, I can give you immense pleasure. I've read that poem over at least 5 or 6 times in preparing for the class, and every time it still touches my heart. Because it's a beautiful reminder to see Krishna everywhere, and how in that bliss our hearts can be full of gratitude and can again be touched by how much Krishna loves us. And it naturally turns our attention to seeing ourselves as Krishna's servants and wanting to think, how can I serve him? How can I make Krishna happy? Because again, gratitude can be a stepping stone in our relationship with Krishna. And this is my last quote from Rukmini Walker Prabhu, I promise. And I'm sure her ears are burning right now because I'm speaking of her so much. But she has said, without gratitude, love is not possible. So with gratitude, we can water the seed of love in our relationship with Krishna. And those we love those are the ones we want to serve. No? And again, speaking of that book that I was reading, Attitude of Gratitude, there's a really beautiful quote in it where the author says, "Gratitude creates a sense of fullness, and from this fullness, we feel moved to give." It's a beautiful cycle. The more you feel grateful, the stronger the impulse towards giving. So again, if I stop to be grateful for this moment, right now, here, in this beautiful temple, made possible by Krishna's grace, yes, and that of his devotees. I can be grateful for Srila Prabhupada, who sacrificed so much to bring Krishna consciousness to the West. I can be grateful for the devotees in this community who raised the funds to build this temple that I'm sitting in right now, this Vyasasan. I can be grateful for all the devotees who work hard every day behind the scenes, literally happening right now, to keep this temple running. Serving the deities, managing the classes and the festivals, the ashrams. There's just a million things that we may not even understand and know, but we can be here right now in this very moment, glorifying the Lord, glorifying his devotees. So for me to personally have the opportunity to serve Krishna and his devotees by giving this class, when I let that sink into my heart feels so full that it feels like it's overflowing. It's spilling out with love and appreciation. And all I can think of is, how can I give back? I mean, that's why we donate to the temple, right? That's why we find ways to serve at the temple, to serve the devotees and Krishna. You know, we do meal trains for devotees. We try to give people rides. There's so many different ways that we can do that. And we do that when we do that with a heart that is full of love and overflowing with gratitude. How energizing is that? Isn't that so much more energizing than when you're doing something just out of like, oh, I have to do this. Fine. Like, I'll do this, but I don't really want to. No, that saps us. But when we allow ourselves to feel that love, when we allow ourselves to feel that gratitude, oh, we're energized. Why? Because we're connected to Krishna in that moment, right? With a grateful heart, we see endless opportunities to give back to the Lord and all his loved ones. So with that in mind, I want to segue into the second point, which is devotional service. And again, why do I mention devotional service? I mean, I know it seems like like a basic, like, oh, of course, devotional service, Damodar Priya, why not? But he actually mentions it in the verse. Brahma says, I pray only to engage in his service. Right? And he says, I pray that I not be materially affected by my works. So Brahma is grateful to the Lord for everything, and all he can think of is, how can I engage myself in the Lord's service? How can I serve the Lord? And then our dear Srila Prabhupada, he reinforces this point in the purport. He said, Brahma wanted to remain in his actual position as an instrument of the Lord, instead of becoming puffed up by the false prestige of thinking himself a creator. So I really love this point that Srila Prabhupada makes in his purport, because it's that whole idea that we want to remain in that position of instruments of the Lord and not let ourselves get puffed up. And it's important, going back to gratitude, to kind of use that to help us see Krishna in our lives, see his mercy, see his grace. So that helps kind of bring down our ego, but then it also motivates us. Let's act on it. How do we act on it? With devotional service. I mean, we have people doing devotional service around us right now. It's so beautiful. So through gratitude and devotional service, we can remain in our position as instruments of the Lord. We won't get puffed up. We won't forget Krishna, because we're literally reminded of him all the time. We're reminded of him because he provides us with all our abilities, all our opportunities. And why? Because he wants to give us a chance to serve him and to remember our true position as his servants. And then Prabhupada actually talked about this in a class in San Francisco in 1968. It seems like all my quotes were from 1968 for this class. It was a good year, I guess. But he says, God is great and I am dependent. So my sense of love has to be developed. We must accept that God is great and he's supplying us with everything. So why not render some service in gratitude? And there's more to that, but I really want to try to finish this up because it's so important for us to have that gratitude practice, to build our relationship with Krishna, but then what's the action? Like for me, when I going to classes, giving classes, I'm always like, what's the practical application, right? What can we do? Devotional service is the practical application. And there's so many ways that we can serve the Lord, right? I'm sure some of you have the Sanskrit memorized of like all the Prahlad Maharaj says, right? If anybody wants to say it in Sanskrit, feel free. If not, I'll just quickly run through it in English. So it's hearing and chanting the holy names, serving the paraphernalia and of the Lord, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship, becoming his servant, offering prayers, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. And that's just a paraphrase of what Prahlad Maharaj says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, verses 23 to 24. So we can personalize our service, our devotional service to the Lord, because all of us have special gifts and abilities that make us unique, right? We have unique offerings that we can give to Krishna in his service. And I wanted to share that you may not be seeing me as much give classes because I actually will be teaching. I was offered a position as part-time teacher's assistant at Bhaktivedanta Academy, our amazing devotee school here on the grounds, and I'll be starting in August. And I mention that because that the Lord is again giving me a unique way to serve him based on my special abilities and talents. And while I was I have been getting ready to do this job, I was reading the information that they provide the students, and they have this beautiful honor code where the students are encouraged to pray, and I'll read it to you word for word because it's really beautiful. It says, "My dear Srila Prabhupada, I am a student of Bhaktivedanta Academy, and I perform all my activities to the best of my ability. All of my talents are given to me as gifts from Krishna, God, and so I act with respect, integrity, self-control, and gratitude, humbly offering all my actions to you." So how beautiful is that? I think we could all use that. Just take out the part about being a student, but otherwise we can do that. We can offer our talents and gifts to Krishna back with gratitude, and we can be inspired by that. So to finish up, I want to finish with an excerpt of a poem by God brother to many of you, Kalakanta Das Prabhu. And this poem is titled "The Music That Prabhupada Plays," and it's just the last 4 stanzas. "In the time that is left, just before Yama's theft, I submit for your pleasure and thought, for tips to survive, so our bhakti may thrive, which our guru would want, would he not? Number 1, keep the house where we've taken our vows, the one Prabhupada built with his hand, though sometimes it leaks. It's where Prabhupada speaks, and he built it on stone, not on sand. Number 2 is to act in idea and in fact, just as Prabhupada acted himself. Treat others with heart as the Lord's much-loved parts, with concerns for their spiritual health. Number 3, the prasad on our plate comes from God, be we infamous, famous, or plain. If our diet gets worse, shall we dump it and curse, or be humble and shoulder the blame? Number 4, and the last, should I slop through the past, or join others to build better days? Every dawn brings the chance to drink nectar and dance to the music that Prabhupada plays.
Who wrote that poem?
Kalakanta Das Prabhu. Yeah, so to wrap up, just a reminder, because I know I've been speaking for a while, we talked about gratitude, devotional service, this amazing, powerful combination, how we can connect to Krishna, remember Krishna by thanking him for the things in our lives, and asking, how can we serve you further, Krishna? And we can grow in our loving relationship with him through gratitude and service, through appreciative love. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindubhya eva cha, Patitanam pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they're full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. So, dear friends, I still left plenty of time for loving exchanges. Jai, thank you, Lord. So please, what are your takeaways, questions, comments, corrections? How do you practice gratitude? Anything, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Damodar Priya. Your heart is definitely overflowing. In fact, a drop of it landed on me while you were reading the poem. With such heart, tears came to my eyes. You know what, I realized that one of the 9 processes of devotional service is Vandanam, prayer. And the prayers of the Acharyas, the one main ingredient, before they even may request something of the Lord, they're glorifying Him. In fact, expressing gratitude, like in Kunti's prayers, how she said, "You've saved us from this and that," So gratitude is one of the ingredients of prayer, devotional service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, John.
Thank you.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you, Damodar Priya. I was remembering a quote by Prabhupada where he told one of his disciples, first be conscious, then be Krishna conscious, because you spoke about that. And another story that I heard about Radha Govinda Maharaj, when he's initiating Guru in ISKCON, and one of his disciples became really ill, so he took that disciple to the hospital. And when the doctor came, the doctor said to him, "Oh, you Hare Krishnas, you always chant Hare Krishna, always chanting Hare Krishna. But when you need me, then you come here. Then you're dependent on me." So Radha Govinda Maharaj says, I'm not dependent on you. He said, "Well, why did you come here?" Because Krishna inspired me to come." And then he said, because here the doctor was taking credit. So Maharaj said, so when people that you treat when they die, then what? He goes, well, that's karma. He goes, okay, well, let me see then. When your patients die, then that's up to karma. When they survive, then you're taking the credit for that. So I thought it was an incredible answer, really. I'm not sure I would have been able to do as well, but it was really good to hear it. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Damodar Priya, for that great class. It was funny, this morning I was hearing Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj giving class, and he says this, he was talking about how to bring emotions in our chanting. And so he talked about the material emotions, and then he talked about bhava, the spiritual emotions. And he expressed that the emotion of gratitude is the emotion, it's the first emotion. And I've heard before also Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about gratitude being the first emotion, spiritual emotion. And so he said that when you have gratitude, that gratitude helps us to bring our material emotion to spiritual emotions. And he did a little exercise before chanting japa. He said, so everybody sit down and think about who you're grateful to. For those who have done selfless service, and you named so many people that are in our lives that we are grateful to. He says, sit down and think about that gratitude that you have. And he said, and now in that mood, think about how, just like you so nicely explained in class about Krishna, that ultimately it's all coming from Krishna, and then sit down and chant your rounds. So, yeah, so it's funny that you're talking about gratitude. Just this morning I was hearing
I think it's Krishna magic.
Yeah. It's
If I
a
could
Krishna
get a
magic.
link to that lecture, I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you again.
Thank you for deepening what I said and making me even more connected to Krishna and to Shastra.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate the point you brought out of Krishna being the best friend, but the most loyal. Really, it's just profound when you think about that. Thank you.
I'm just repeating what Srila Prabhupada said in that purport and what I've heard from so many Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who've given class. Anybody else? Does anybody have anything that they want to share about practice of gratitude? Any Vaishnavas? I feel like the Vaishnavis, they're taking a lot of the microphone, but don't be shy. I know a lot of you always have a lot of things that you can share.
Say something.
I just do this as a service.
Well, that's what we've been talking about, right? Giving service to Krishna.
So, Madhumati asked you a question, and you said, well, you're just repeating what you heard and stuff. But how about your experience? Is Krishna as your best friend also your experience?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is definitely my experience. Because as I've mentioned before, I wouldn't be here right now, sitting here, if Krishna hadn't arranged for me to become so ill that I had to leave New York City. I had to leave my full-time job and be forced, kind of kicked out of my material attachments in New York City to then come here, and then now I have the opportunity to have pretty much like my dream job. You know, I'm trained to be an elementary school teacher. I have my master's in education. Everything is actually education related. But I was doing customer service in the corporate world for like 10 years. And I felt like that's what I needed to do. And then Krishna was like, yeah, no. Because like any good best friend, he knows what's best for you. And sometimes he just helps you along even if it seems like it hurts. So yeah, at the time I may not have seen the bigger picture that he saw, but I do think of him as my best friend, and it's really helpful. And my husband Gopal Prabhu always reminds me of that when things start to get difficult. He's like, don't worry, Krishna's got our back, right? Krishna's got our back, so we just have to trust. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. That's why I got him in the house. For many other reasons, but definitely for that. He's the voice of logic and rationalism, in the sense of like just reminding us that Krishna always has our back. Anybody else? And thank you. And we don't have to keep talking until 9, because we did start like 10 minutes early, which was Krishna's beautiful arrangement, because I had so many things I wanted to share.
This is just quick, but as we're reading the translation and the purport, and Prabhupada was saying how, Lord Brahma, he was praying that he wouldn't feel proud, and also like Prahlad, when he was pushed up by the demigods, to pacify Lord Nrsimhadev, he was also praying that, wow, all these other exalted personalities, they're afraid to go up to Lord Nrsimhadev, and they're pushing me. Don't let me become proud. I think Shakespeare says in one of his poems that even the pauper is proud of his penny, and how easy it is for us to become, oh, I did this or I did that. And here's Lord Brahma creating the whole world, and he's not proud. Yeah. So it's a great lesson.
Yeah, it's a reminder to all of us. Okay. Well, with that in mind, thank you so much to every single one of you. I can actually see you now because I don't have my reading glasses on. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for providing the space for all of us to glorify Krishna. Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada.